All right, how's everyone doing? All right, everyone enjoy their lunch? All right, good. So we've got an exciting talk for you. Coming up next is Laura Burns. Laura Burns is a account manager for Web Dev Studios. Title of her talk is The Art of the Pitch, Selling Your WordPress Solutions. Everyone give a warm welcome to Laura Burns.
Hey everybody, thank you Caleb for that introduction. So yeah, I want to talk about how you can actually sell your WordPress solutions. So giving you a little bit of my background, where am I coming, why should you listen to me, what do I know about all of this? So I've been a WordPress user since 2006, so I think that makes me a really early adopter. In fact, I think it actually makes me a pioneer, to be honest with you. So I used WordPress for the first time in 2006. Before that, I was dabbling around in things like Microsoft Front Page. Anybody remember Microsoft Front Page back in the day? So what was happening back in 2006, this is a era before social media. A friend and I created a website in this newfangled WordPress thing, a blog and a forum for what was then this book that my friend had read. She really liked it and was like, you want to help me do a fan site for this thing? I'm like, yeah, all right, sounds like fun. We used to be in like an adult Harry Potter forum, and I'm just a bit old nerd, frankly. So she and I were like, yeah, let's do it. We built the largest Twilight website on the internet. So this hobby exploded. Exploded. So we basically accidentally and by design created a website that went from a couple hundred visitors to a couple of thousand visitors to how many people are on the site today from around the globe, like hundreds of thousands at the same time. I got an entire education in hosting, load balancing, all the things. You haven't lived until your hosting company calls you, and I do mean calls me, on a Saturday morning to say, quote unquote, lady, what kind of freaky porn site are you running? And then I got to pause and go, vampires. It was great. So anyway, what was really cool is this hobby of mine and getting to learn exponentially what was WordPress all about enabled me to transition my career. At the time, I was in education. I was in marketing for education of a large private school system, both initially at one particular school and then above all the schools in the school system itself. As I used to say, there were 114 of them and one of me. So have my marketing chops there too. And eventually, I got to the point where I was like, you know, I'm good at this job, but I have gone as far as I can go. There was basically a glass ceiling that I was never going to get beyond in the job that I was in. Glass ceiling, or perhaps I could have called it a clerical ceiling. My first name was not sister, brother, or father, so I was never going to get any further than where I was working for this organization. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I can turn this hobby of mine into my career. And let me tell you, that's a whole other talk. Deciding to change your career at 50, that's scary, but I did it. And I started out by initially taking everything I knew as my hobby. I worked for a very small agency, at the time was named Bet Hannon Marketing. And I worked with Bet Hannon for about 2 years or so. We were a 4-person agency, and let me tell you, when you are a 4-person agency, you do everything. And I do mean everything. There were days that I was playing baby back-end developer, and I am here to tell you, you don't want me playing baby back-end developer, but that is what I was doing that day. Functions PHP and I are not friends. So went from that, ended up working there for a while, shifted into then working for Automatic, which is the company that was founded by Matt Mullenweg, the founder of, or the co-founder of WordPress. And then since then, I've been working for Web Dev Studios. Web Dev Studios is a web agency that was founded 16 years ago by Brad Williams. and Lisa Sabin-Wilson, and we specialize in the enterprise market. Our clients currently are people like the NBA, Cisco Meraki, Paramount, variety of names, some names that people know, some names that people don't know. So the advice that I'm going to be bringing you today kind of comes from across the entire spectrum of my life, of how do you sell, who do you sell to, how do you work WordPress into what you are selling, and really what it comes down to, it doesn't matter in life what you are selling. It is all about the relationship. And that's something I've definitely been instilling in my team no matter where I was, because honestly, I was selling, when I created this website that went incredibly viral, I was creating the experience you wanted to be on that website and stay and come back day after day. I certainly wasn't the only website out there in that sphere, but I was offering something very specific that worked for certain people, and then they came to visit that site. When I was selling education, albeit an education you could get for free in the public school, there was a reason that I was successful in doing that, so I'm going to bring some of that into it. Again, it has to do with relationship. And then lastly, believe me, there are tons of people out there selling WordPress. How do you make it good for you? Relationship, relationship, relationship is what it's all about. So let's talk about the first thing. First thing is defining yourself. Your website, which hopefully is a WordPress website. I think I would be horrified if I went to somebody selling me a WordPress solution and it was on Wix. I think I would fall over backwards. So your website, your WordPress website, is your front door. You know, just like a brick and mortar, this is your front door. Sometimes you hear that old adage about like the carpenter's children have no shoes. Anybody ever hear that one? That is death to you and your brand. There's no reason I will buy a quality WordPress solution from you if your website doesn't look awesome. Full stop. Everything spell checked, looked good, contrast good, all the things. Have to take care of yourself first. Things on your website to think about. What is your elevator pitch? You can't be everything to all people. Think about how you could tell somebody in 10 words what it is that you do, and practice it again and again and again so it just trips off your tongue automatically. If I'm talking about Web Dev Studios, I'll say Web Dev Studios was founded 16 years ago by Brad Williams. It'd be nice if I got my boss's name right. Brad Williams and Lisa Sabin-Williams, founders in the WordPress ecosystem. They've both written authoritative books on WordPress. That's my entry point. And then I can expand on that. Think about what your 10-word item is. What is going to be your pitch? And it should trip over your tongue very quickly. Don't mess up your boss's name like I just did. Other things you should always make sure is on your website, defining yourself. Make sure your core services are clear. Can I tell you how many times I have visited a website and I'm like, but what do they do? Make sure it's clear, and clear in more than one place. Clear on your home page, clear on your drop downs. What do you do? Clear on your About Us. Link internally to those things. I need to know what you do. Am I in the right place? Sometimes I'm ambiguous. I'm like, do they do design? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just development. Do they help with SEO? I'm not sure. Make sure you clearly define what you do. Testimonials and good examples to back it up. Anybody know what the best time is to get a testimonial from somebody? Anytime can be, but there's a really good time. Right after you have successfully launched something, or right after you have successfully solved a problem, grab a testimonial from them. It can be just in a natural conversation and say to them, can I quote you on that? In your contracts, when you write a contract, make sure you have a clause that say you can quote people. I mean, their lawyer may take it out later, but like have that in your contract, that you're allowed to speak about the work that you do and quote them. Other things to be really, really sure to keep your message on top. Also, when you're linking to when you have a testimonial, make sure you're linked to the person's site, because that testimonial isn't as valuable unless I know what site it applied to. Other things, blog. Make sure you blog. We just had a couple presentations earlier on the uses of AI and things. Do not get AI to write the blog for you, okay? But use AI to help you spark some ideas. Come up with top 10 lists. Those are so easy. Top 5 lists. 4 things you should know about X today. Really creative things. Blog once a week on a topic. Use something like an AI to help you generate these ideas. And just come up with some quick 500 words or so that are on a given topic that hopefully is linked to something you do, okay? And put it out there. It helps your SEO. It helps show people that you're serious in your field, you're bringing ideas to them. It's a great opportunity, again, to showcase who you are and what you do, not to mention it's also showcasing the WordPress software. Other things, social media. That's one of the first checks that people do. Check out your social media. If you're not using a social platform, get it off your webpage. If you're using Facebook all the time, fabulous. If you're not, delete it. If you're using LinkedIn, great. Leave it on there. If you're not using it, delete it. Only be present on what you can commit to. And then lastly, images. If you notice my little caption up there, these people are tired of holding hands. How many places have we seen this on the web? Like, have we seen this image 30 bajillion times? Spend a little money, get some photography that is paid for photography. Really good sources, 123RF. Go beyond just the free stock image. Do something that defines you a little more clearly than the image we have seen everywhere. There's somebody who blogs in the WordPress ecosystem. Her name's Maddie Osman. She gave a really great presentation last year that said, this woman is tired of having a cup of coffee. And I'm watching a bunch of you going, oh, I know that image, right? We've all seen it. I didn't even have to put it up there, and you know what image I'm talking about. So make sure everything is very personal to you, because if you look personal, that relationship I want to have, I don't want a stock relationship with you. I don't want a stock photo relationship with you. I want a personal relationship with you, okay? Here's the next thing. People buy benefits. They don't buy technology. No matter what industry you're in, they buy the benefit of working with you, not the thing. They can get WordPress anywhere. My very first boss told me, they can get math anywhere. They can get social studies anywhere. In fact, they can get it for free in the public school system. Why should they get it with us? What is the benefit of having it with us? And that really stuck. So always talk to a client about, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm present. I respond quickly. How do you need your messages? Do you need text messages? Do you need email? What do you need for me to communicate effectively with you? Talk to me about your pain points. I have a really good example. This week I was on a client call with some members of my team, and they were trying to talk to this client about switching over to some new technology. And I was just on the call to talk about improving his website hosting, frankly. I was just popping in there, and I'm listening to my project manager and developer talk project manager and developer-ese about the block editor. And after about 5 minutes, I'm like, I got to jump in here. And I'm like, hey, Adam, listen, what Daniel and Lindsay are talking about is amazing, but here's why it's going to matter to you. I said, your SEO is going to improve wildly. I said, your creation time to put out content is going to go down, and it's going to be in half. And he's like, really? I was like, yes. I said, imagine how much more time you're going to have, and we're going to walk you through this. We can show examples. I was like, can we spin up a demo for him next week? Oh, absolutely. Benefit. Relationship. Don't talk tech, talk benefit, talk relationship. One thing that's really true too is people always like a takeaway. Sometimes the person you're engaging with has to go to their boss, or their boss has to go to their boss. Like, it just keeps getting kicked up the food chain. Make sure you have something that they can have. It doesn't have to be a physical printout item. I'm not saying you have to go down to Vistaprint and print something, okay? But have like a slide deck, a view book, and I'll give you some really good sources in a minute of tools that can help you. A one-sheet summary of like what they're wanting and how you provide service to it with some examples. People like a takeaway. That's great in a relationship. Always have a takeaway that people can go with you. And in fact, my takeaway at the end of this will be you can have a copy of these slides, and I will tell you how to get them at the end. So you will absolutely have a takeaway. Here's another thing too, and this is all about relationships. You want to always start off a relationship solid. Again, you can't always be everything to everybody. An important process in that is vetting your prospects. Are you the right fit for a given client? And the way that I always like to do that is via email. Ask a couple of simple questions and always start off super, super positive because you don't know what it's going to be. We have a contact form on our website, and I will tell you sometimes the contact form goes like this. My name, my email, help, I need a website. It's not a lot of information in help, I need a website. I mean, we have some fields for people to fill out, but we don't make a lot of them mandatory because we don't want to make it a high benchmark. I mean, the mandatory is give me your name, give me your email. But then after that, we're a little, less restrictive in like what you have to fill out, right? And I'm like, okay, got to do something with that. And we have a standard response back. And on a high level, what it says is this. Hey, thanks so much for contacting us. We're excited to learn about your project. And then we ask you 4 things. Bullet point number 1, can you just verify for me that this is the website we are talking about? You would be surprised how many people email about not the site their email address came in from. So number 1, define the site. And if they have defined the site, always extend it and say, hey, are there any other websites in play here? Are there any other subdomains in play here? Always ask that. Number 2, ask, do you have a timeline that you are looking to meet? That lets you right away know if you have somebody who is delusional or somebody you want to work with. If they think this is getting done in 2 weeks, that would be the delusional area. If they have a healthy timeline, all right, we could talk about this. Next, I would ask this. Do you have a price range you are looking to keep this project within? We have different solutions that are friendly to your budget. It doesn't have to be an exact figure. That lets you, again, know right away if somebody has thought about budgeting. I will tell you sometimes people come back and say, well, what does it cost? Again, we will come back and be like, hey, it's like building a house. I can build you a house, I can build you a mobile home, or I can build you the Taj Mahal. I just need to know kind of where we're at, what are you thinking, right? And then the last question we asked is, hey, do you have any other information you can supply? Do you have a wish list? Do you have the top 5 things that you're looking to accomplish? Can you give me some more information? And based upon that response, I instantaneously know if this is a relationship I want to continue to pursue. It also lets us start off on a really good foot, and if it is a relationship I want to pursue, I instantaneously respond back, hey, this is such great information. Thank you for sending that. Can we jump on a call to discuss you, your needs, and your goals further? And I give them a really easy way to do that. I'll get into it. If they're not the best fit, the response is, hey, this is an awesome project, but I don't think my agency is the best fit for you here. Here are some resources where you can go that are a better fit. I have people thank me all the time when they come into my site, and sometimes they're like, I have $500. I am not the place you're gonna find a $500 solution, but my friends at Codable are. And I have an affiliate link that I put out, and we get some money off of that. So, next up, preparation is everything. There are tools that can help you organize this relationship. Some of these are free. I love free. And then some of these are paid. And there's always, like, as with anything paid, there's always various levels of entry, right? Start off on the slow one. So number 1 is Calendly. I love Calendly. It is a scheduling tool. It's free. It is a scheduling tool. You can decide when people can schedule time with you, buffer time in between events. It has fantastic automation that it will send them a reminder email that you craft how many days before you want the person to have a reminder. It has a new option for a reminder text message to go out to people. It's awesome. And it automatically will add things to my Google Calendar. You can do that kind of interface with it. It also lets people add the event to their Google Calendars really easily. It's an awesome tool. I love it. It helps build that relationship for me. Another one is HubSpot. There are free versions of HubSpot. I am here to tell you, we are a rather large organization. We are getting by on the free version of HubSpot. That's how powerful it is. It's great for keeping track of names, conversations, emails. I use a bunch of the automations in HubSpot for canned responses for things, and then I just have a canned pre-written response to like common questions, and then I just tailor it based on what is presented with me. So I don't have to spend tons and tons of time doing a unique message each time, but I just craft it just enough for that client so it looks like a very personalized, yet it's a canned response. Again, it's maintaining that relationship. I felt like they personally responded to me. They don't know that it has been somewhat pre-formatted. Another huge one for us is always record your calls. I would say it is the rarity that people will say, I don't want this call recorded. We switched over from using Zoom, which is a paid service, over onto Google Meet. We use Google Workplace for our emails. Google Meet comes in with that. They've vastly improved the technology on that over the past 2 years, and in fact, within the last 6 months, they've even improved it more. One of the really lovely things that comes with it, if you record a call, you can ask it if there's somebody who requires captions. It'll do live captions on the screen as you are going along. So if there's somebody in the group that maybe English isn't their first language, your call can have live captions going by, which is, again, awesome. Great relationship building tool. Secondly, it also will produce for you a transcript of the call. I am here to tell you AI only goes so far. It's probably about 85% accurate. But it's great, because if I want to go back afterwards and look at the call, I don't have to sit there and going, I think they said that at the 5-minute mark. And then I'm like, you know, anybody play like slider bingo? Where is this? Where is this point of the call? I can just search the transcript and go, that's what we talked about, and I can pull the nugget out. It's also where I get my testimonials from, in their words, and I don't have to rewrite it, and I just clean it up a little bit. It's a great source for your testimonials. Other things that we used, I talk about having a view book, having a one sheet, having something. This is a paid service, and we love it. We just switched to it. It's called PandaDocs. We have blown through several different versions of tools to make proposal software and view books. After this talk, I would be happy to discuss the pros and cons of various versions of products we've used over the years. I love this one, and relatively inexpensive. Gives us gorgeous opportunities to make a view book, to craft proposals. Love it. Make sure you have some sort of project management system, whether that's a Basecamp, whether that's a Trello, whatever system you want to use, and I can talk virtues of different ones with you afterwards if you'd like. I'd be happy to go over that with you. And then we always use Slack for instantaneous communication. That's also a huge one for clients. Things get lost in emails. Having a shared Slack channel with a client really stops you from something going into that email black hole. And then if you need to direct them into a ticketing system after that, it's great, but having that shared Slack channel does a lot to build a relationship, because stuff just gets lost in the tone of tickets. It gets lost in the tone of an email. Having them be able to communicate with you back and forth in real time eliminates some of that tone just getting lost. It also gives you the opportunity. Anybody try to Slack huddle yet? Slack has an instantaneous communication. Sometimes you can just solve a client something by, hey, can we hop on a quick huddle here for 5 minutes? It saves you misunderstanding. It builds a relationship. It's a great opportunity. Here's some other things that I do to build relationships. Before I get on a call with a client, one of the things I do is I crawl all over their site, and I do mean I crawl all over it. I look at the home page, I look at the about page, I look at their 4 most recent blogs, I look at their 4 most recent events, and then I just go start looking for things obscure, like what does the careers page look like? I just start crawling all over it. I'm nosy, like what does it look like? What's the user experience? You know, so when I get on a call with them, I can speak with personal experience having been on your website. Crawl their social media, understand what kind of content they're putting out there. What are some of their, if they're putting it on social, it's probably important to them. It's probably on their mind. And I don't mean Facebook's off the CEO, don't do that. But if they're somebody you're on the call with, go look them up on LinkedIn. Find out what their experience is, find out where they've been. If you really feel strong about it, make a connection, ask to be connected to them on LinkedIn. It lets you know what you're getting into, and you can bring that to the call. So, for example, when I had a client and I realized he was bringing his design team with him, all of whom went to Kutztown University in Pennsylvania, I sure borrowed my son's Kutztown sweatshirt, and I showed up at the call wearing that sweatshirt. Different things that I pick up with, I say, hey, I noticed you're a fan of whatever. Like, I'll work that into the conversation. Or, oh, hey, I used to work at such and such a place, or I see you work there, I know somebody who knows, like, bring that in, makes you more human. Always mention something personal that way. Let me get to a couple more of these points in here. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Let them talk. Let them talk. Let them get out all their thoughts. You know, so what are your top pain points? Start with that. Let them talk. Have a legal pad. Start jotting things you want to come back to. There's a transcript running, but there's things that you're going to want to come back to. And then the top items say, hey, can you talk to me a little bit about that? Oh, I feel you. Empathize, 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 empathize. Say, I really understand. You can't hit everything. Like, you just can't hit everything. You're throwing it at the wall. Think about the top 3 things you're going to empathize about what they're talking about. Here's this. You can never solve it all in one call, especially as an SMB. I know a lot of times people who are running a small business are like, yeah, I just got to wrap that up in that call and get going. You always need a second call because your brain needs time to digest all the information you're getting in. You can have an intro email, you can have a first call. You probably need at least 3 calls. So always think about what's the information you're garnering and how you're going to set up the next one to continue to build that relationship. Post-call, always finish it off with, hey, we've covered a lot of different things here. I really want some time to dig into your website and explore more. And then say, listen, let's set up another call to continue our discussion. I'm going to follow up with some things about us. You're going to follow up with your review book. If you've hit a couple things that are things they want to talk about, here's a couple links for additional information. And then here's my Calendly link for you to set a time appropriate to you for our next conversation. If you don't see a time that works for you, let me know, and I will come up with an alternative arrangement. That sets, again, your relationship for setting everything up. The other thing is all of this makes you look organized. And I realize some of us are less organized than others. But I want to buy the benefit of a web agency that's organized, that knows what it's doing. Okay, how to say it, what to say. As I was saying, listen first. So when you come into like your second sets of calls, listen again to what they're saying. You've had some time to digest. Have an outline, know what you want to cover, but when you ask them a question about things, oh, that looks really not good on there, does it? I was just saying, that looks like really, I'm looking at the monitor here, and that is super blurry. If you all can't read that, I will make sure it looks good on the slides. I don't know if it's just the monitor or that, but I can't read that on the monitor in front of me. So have an outline, control the flow of where you want the conversation to go, but listen deeply. Listen deeply of what they're saying and how they're saying it. Those areas that, again, their highest pain points, talk to the benefit of working with you. Security is a good one, right? How are you going to be the person who shows up? What are the kind of systems that you all use with security? Downtime is a big pain point. What do I do to ensure you never go down, but if you do go down, how do I solve this for you? SEO, Core Web Vitals, always a biggie. What does my team do to make sure that your Core Web Vitals are great? How do we get you from point A, if this is where you are now, how are we going to get you to the next level? Here's also another trick too. Do you notice I'm always saying my team? How many of you are solopreneurs? You're a one-person band. You always have a team. You always have a team. Because I'm here to tell you, you probably talk things out over the dinner table with your partner. You talk with other people. You have a team. There are probably going to be things that are outside your wheelhouse that you're going to pull somebody else in for. It's always my team, okay? As I said, setting up the second call, making sure you're always giving people a thank you and a view book and links. Make sure you're always getting back from them supporting material. What are your pain points? Can you write those down for me? Can you write down a wish list of your top 5 things that are your strongest things that are troubling you right now? And what are the top 5 things you want to have happen in the future? That lets you know where to peg your sales, your pitch. And here's the thing too, brainstorming a high-level overview on how you want to do this. Make sure you're not brainstorming by yourself, brainstorm with other people. On your second call that you have, really strut your stuff, refer back to what they gave you, speak to their pain points. There's probably still going to be some unknowns. Clarify the unknowns. Sometimes if you don't know what they're talking about, say, don't necessarily say, I haven't got the first clue what you're talking about. Just say, can you define that a little more clearly? I am here to tell you, I was on a 5th call with a client recently, and I looked at my boss and I said, do you have any idea what this question means? And he goes, I haven't the first clue. I was like, good, I'm glad you're clueless too, because I don't know what they're talking about with this. We got into the call, we're like, hey, so question number 5 was this. Can you talk about that a little more? Let me understand a little more deeply where you're going. It's all in how you phrase it, not I don't have the first clue what you're talking about, okay? Also tag in the right person. I am very much a content creator. I am a marketer. On occasion, I can play baby developer. My boss is a developer. He is sort of-ish a designer. We tag team. We know who the right person is to take different moments of the call. Or if I know it's a call that I am not going to be suited to, I will not be on that call, but I will bring in somebody else who can speak to it. So think about who is the right person to be on the call and prep the person to come in with you. And really after the second call is where you want to do a formal proposal. Say, look, let me pull some ideas together. Let me give you a proposal, and then I propose after this a 3rd call to go over it so we can refine this together. Again, it's a relationship. I'm not just throwing you a document that says, here, sign on the dotted line. I'm giving it to you after a series of calls and saying, now, let's get on a 3rd call and work through this together. Is this working for you? Great. Do you not understand that part? No problem. Let me explain it to you. Would it help you if I clarify that language more? Again, relationship, not just sign on the dotted line. So other overall things to consider in building that relationship. My first boss used to say to us, admissions is everybody's mission. And he's like, it's just not up to the admission office to get people in here. It's up to everybody to keep them. So a couple things that I already said, bring assets to a call. If folks are really interested in design, bring a designer into the call. If people are really interested in data migration, bring a friend who may be helping you with the data migration into the call. Bring the right voices there. If you have a team under you, even if it's a small team of a designer, a small team of a back-end developer you work with, always talk to them about like where the client's head is at. Sometimes you get a nugget for additional business from them, and then talk to clients. New pain points arise that you might not always be aware of. Talk to your team and find out where people's heads are at and bring the right assets into the call. The next one is an important one too. How many of us have the client that is driving us up a tree? We've got that, right? as I have stressed to my people, I will happily listen to you scream off the call, after the call. Do not explode on it on social media. Don't post something anonymously on social media. Express it internally, and then we will find a way to work through the frustration. But for the love of all, do not post it somewhere online. And if the client is getting to you, let somebody else tag in and manage the relationship. Image, this is a big one. Be camera ready and have a camera on. I know some people are more introverted and they don't like being on camera. I am here to tell you there is absolutely more intrinsic value in always having the camera on. When the camera is on, I have eye contact. I can read your facial expression. I can read body language. And they can read it from me. It's a relationship. Do you know how awful it is to talk to a blank screen in an avatar? Like, it's not a lot of fun. Here's the other thing too. Clients come from all over the place. I speak Spanish as a second language. Me hearing Spanish on a telephone where I don't see somebody's facial expression is a positive nightmare. I have no context clues. My brain is struggling to keep up with where it is. But if I have a conversation face-to-face with somebody or over a call, I can keep up all the time. So always camera on, camera ready. It really builds the relationship. It doesn't lead to misunderstandings. Always have headphones. Always have a microphone. I know sometimes people are like, the camera works well enough. I don't need a microphone. I'm here to tell you, you're one leaf blower away from your call being obliterated. Okay, so always have that noise canceling microphone around. Make real connections. One of the things that I always do is I make sure that everybody who's on a call, even if it's somebody new, I refer to everybody by their name once during the call. And I always ask each person a personal question. Even if it's down to, hey, Joe, you haven't had an opportunity to say too much during this call. I just want to make sure we're addressing things that are important to you. Is there something you want to talk about that we haven't had the opportunity to discuss yet? And if they say, oh, no, I'm fine, great. But absolutely make sure you address every single person who's on the call by their name once. That's really important. And then coming into tough conversations. There are always tough conversations. Money is always a tough conversation, right? Don't underestimate your worth. I mean, I've had times that people have said to me, well, I can get this cheaper if I blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I am here to tell you we have a rate. We are worth our rate. I can see if maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room I can do on something. We can talk about maybe payment terms. Maybe you need a net 30, a net 45. What can we do to make a down payment a little more comfortable? But I'm here to tell you that that rate is our worth. They can do it themselves otherwise. You are worth your rate. As one of my colleagues is fond of saying, do not clock out when you go to the bathroom. Shower ideas are real ideas. People think about clients all the time. If you're just going to go to the kitchen for 5 seconds to get a Coke, the clock doesn't stop. You're still thinking about it. So don't feel bad if, I moved 2 inches from my desk, I should clock out. If you're gone for 15 minutes, that's another story, okay? But you are worth, your head is still going. If you don't know, refer out. Have people to work alongside of you. And always stress with people, you get what you pay for. When somebody will say to me, well, I can get this less expensively here, I'm like, detail it. What are you getting for that money? And I usually find the holes. Time. A lot of people want it solved like way too fast than is practical. Have that conversation up front and say, look, you could have it right or you could have it rushed. And that's a phrase that I use a lot. And they're like, oh, I understand that now. What is absolutely necessary in a phase A? Can we phase this out over time? What is the minimal viable product you need? And then we can iterate on this. That gets you lots of traction with clients. It builds a relationship. You can write a contract if you want for time and materials. Say, look, I think this is, I don't know the exact time this is going to take. I think it's probably about 50 hours. Tell you what, I'll bill you for 50 hours, not to exceed that, and halfway through, if we think it's going to be more, we'll revisit it. That's a great way of building a relationship. Another great way of doing it is going, you know what, it's a really large project. Maybe the best way to do this is a monthly retainer. I work on this for X hours a month, and after 3 months, we revisit, see what progress it is, and see if we need to reevaluate. That's a great way of working with something too. Giving people lots of options and lots of opportunity to say, can we revisit and revise? They love that. And then sometimes you're just not the right fit. Sometimes these are just the wrong people. It is no one's fault. You are just the wrong people. Let it go when it's wrong. I had a client recently that is breaking up with a marketing firm that they've been with for 10 years. The problem is that 10 years ago they were an SMB. They're not an SMB anymore, and this is a lovely guy. He's just the wrong guy. You know, sometimes you got to break up, and sometimes even that's you as an agency. You know what? My heart is in those small businesses. This person has risen to a level that's beyond me. That's fine. Hey, can I make a recommendation to you? You know, and work with another agency. Our agency, as I said, we really specialize right now in what they call the enterprise market. You would think with all the branding on our website that people would clue into this. Sometimes people don't and are looking for me to do, you know, a website that's like a $5,000 website, which is great. It's just not what we do. We have a whole level of people we refer out to when they want us to do something that's just not us. We build using the block editor. There are people that are like, hey, I want you to build this in Elementor. Elementor's a great product. It's not something we do. I've got a whole list of people that I can say, you want an Elementor person? Allow me to, you know, refer you to these people. So it definitely helps. And one thing that I always do too is just try to cut it off before it becomes nasty. Sometimes things get a little rough. Try to get there ahead of time. Just gauge the room before, you know, and I always start it with, if it has gotten a little tense, saying, you know, I sense we're having some frustration. I totally get it. I just don't think we're the right fit right now. What can we do to help you get to a better place? And that really works out. People kind of respect that you're not wasting their time at a certain point, and that really helps you get through it all. So thank you for listening to me. I know I've been talking up here for a while. You can find me everywhere on the web at New York Allura. I will link the slides up at newyorkallura.com. I'll also have them historically up on SlideShare, so you can grab them from there. Twitter, pretty much all the places. New York Allura, Google it, you'll just find me everywhere pretty much. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. And if you have any questions, I think they want you to use the mic because it will go into the feed for the tape if anybody has any questions. Or me talk really, really loud. I was just gonna say that's not probably a great solution. But great, question over here.
Hello, that was a great talk and it's very motivating. As a new web developer, I am confused about pricing and expecting that, like, a lot of people say, like, for example, I saw a freelancer charging $1,000 per landing page, but my first quote I gave somebody was for like $300. So I just have no idea where the price ranges go from different types of websites when it comes to landing pages, funnels, even just basic websites that have information like the About page, FAQs, and homepage and everything
Gotcha.
like that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different ways that you can provide solutions. I would say as a generality, and this is again as a generality, don't pitch yourself lower than 100 to 125 an hour. Like I said, the alternative is they can do it themselves, which is a viable option should they wish to do so, right? But I would pitch yourself that way. And I would, if you're just starting out, I would think about, is this a small project for you? Is this a medium project for you? Or is this a large project for you? And think about, a small project would be maybe 4 pages. How much time would it take me to do 4 pages? Think about your time. Now multiply that by your hourly rate. That's your price range. And maybe do a little range. It's between this and this. Same thing with a medium. Maybe that's a, I don't know, a 5 to a 15. Maybe a large is a 15 plus, but cap it. And again, do your math. And then when you talk to somebody, say to them, this project would be between X and X. And that gives you a start range to go with. But I would say as a generality talking rate, so, pitch it as a per hour kind of thing and give them, I think this would be approximately this many hours to complete. That's a good way to start. Like when you're just starting off, that's a good way to do it. Or come up with like packages. You can have a 3-page website for this price designed with, this is what the template will look like. It'll have your brand colors. It costs this. And then if they want to do something beyond that, well, our add-ons are at my hourly rate of this, and this is between X and X hours.
Perfect. Yeah, that's where I was going to go next because you said hourly rate first. But I would imagine, obviously, you're going to speed up the workflow.
Yep.
Everything like that. So then move on to packages.
Yeah. And what I also do, too, is be nosy. There are other neighbors in the ecosystem. Start poking around and finding like what other people charge and get some ideas of, can I do this? Would this be a little more? Would this be a little less? Take a look around in others. There's also tons of people here. One of the greatest opportunities is being out there in the hallway truck and talking to other folks in your area. You'll get all kinds of different ideas. You're welcome. Anybody else have questions? Okay, thanks. And if not, you can always catch me outside afterwards, but no problem.
Same thing, nice talk. So I'm going to build a little bit on his question. Does he need to focus on a certain level of client? For example, enterprise, so we can start talking about 120.
Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry, say it again.
So we can start talking about 120. I would think that the client is enterprise or something like that. They're used to paying that because it's kind of arbitrary to say it's going to take me X amount of hours when you don't know how much time it will take another person.
The first thing you really have to understand is what is it that they need? At the end of the day, what is it that they need? What they need? Where are they now? Where do they need to go? How much time will it take you to get there? And once you establish that, talk to them about, like I said, break it down in chunks. What is the minimal viable product you need? The minimal viable product will take you this much time and this much of our experience to get you there. This is what it will cost. And then if you want to go beyond that, this is what we can continue to iterate on over time.
But that will have to be to a company that already works that way, right? That they are used to spending money.
Not necessarily. And sometimes people, it's you acquainting them with this is how this works. It's kind of like people coming into any industry. You walk into the dry cleaner, you learn how the dry cleaner works. This is the system, right? You walk into the grocery store, it's a different system. And for some people, doing website work, it's just a different system. It's a different way it works. And sometimes you have to do a little bit of education on, hey, this is how we typically work. And once they understand your system, they're like, oh, got it. And speaking in analogies like that is a great thing to do because they're like, oh, it's a different system. It's a different way of working. So once they understand your system, it's a little easier for them to embrace it when they're not as familiar with it.
I have another question. So I do analytics mainly and WordPress as well. So I've been trying to find people who have the business and then work together. I put the technology and they run the business and they split the profits, right? It's very difficult to get them to recognize that a sale was made. Is there any way that we can control that?
So yeah, redefine that a little bit for me.
Okay, so I do analytics, right? And you sell cups, right?
Okay.
And I tell you, hey, you should build a website, and then you say, I don't have money or I have no interest. Okay, I'll put the website, I'll put the analytics, all that investment. I'm gonna make the phone to start ringing. You're gonna make the sales, but then you need to split the profit.
Okay.
And they tend not to split the profit.
Everything comes down to a contract. I probably would never do, literally, my work is paid. You are going to pay this much upfront for a deposit, and when I deliver, I am delivering this product to you, and I expect payment. If it's not getting paid, you're not getting it. Good luck with that. I wouldn't do a share of profit. I wouldn't do a share of business. I wouldn't. The same way I always talk to people, your website is your new online brochure. You wouldn't tell your printer, well, I'm only going to pay you for the brochures if I get 20 more people in this week. It doesn't work that way. So I would definitely approach it that way. And sometimes there are the folks that that are going to work, and sometimes they're people that they're just not going to work with. I had one client we turned down. Believe it or not, he has an ice cream chain, and he's like, "I'm not sure if I really need a website." And I'm like, "We're not having this conversation." It just wasn't worth having. He's like, "I think we can do it all on Facebook." I was like, good luck on that until Mark Zuckerberg changes your algorithm. So sometimes you just have to play a little bit of hardball. And I know, like, when you're starting out, sometimes it's like, oh gosh. But there are clients I walked away from going, when I was doing things just on my own, I was like, this is not worth my time. This is not worth my time. This is not worth my aggravation. Not worth doing it.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Laura. Thank you.